This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
Talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power. On Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your charm.
Hello, welcome to Let's Talk Nigeria on your darling station, Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, Cross River State, Nigeria. Today we have an interesting conversation before us, and it's focused on the bills. So yesterday, the House of Representatives passed for second reading a bill seeking to establish the National Local Government Electoral Commission, an independent body responsible for organizing, conducting, and supervising elections into the offices of chairman, vice chairman, and councillors across the country. Sponsored by the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Carlo, the bill was read on the floor of the House by the Majority Leader, Professor Julius Ihulbere. And according to the report we have here, if established, the Commission will be tasked with ensuring credibility, transparency, and fairness in local government elections while promoting democratic governance at the grassroots. Now, according to the draft of the bill, the commission will comprise of a chairman and 37 members representing the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The bill provides that the chairman, who will serve as a chief electoral officer, and other board members will be appointed by the president on the recommendation of the National Council of State, subject to Senate confirmation. And further, the Commission shall provide periodic report on its activities and the outcomes of local government elections to the President, the National Assembly, and the general public, thereby promoting transparency, accountability in its operations. Okay, we'll go further in the reading as we progress in this conversation. But this morning, we are being joined for this conversation by the Chairman, Local Government Affairs and Election Monitoring Committee of IPAC, and the Chairman of SDP Cross River State, Dr. Ekpenyong Ambo. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ukamaka.
Thank you very much for joining the conversation. Before now, we have always discussed about the local government elections. Even before the Cross River State election of last year, we also discussed at length and all of the issues around that. Now, this bill is on the floor of the House of Representatives. What do you make of it?
Well, basically, thank you, Ukamaka, for this wonderful discussion this morning. And it's one of our dreams that we want a pure democratic, credible commission to handle local government elections. Because if we look over the years, the local government elections have been, how will I put it, observed with high impunity and, how will I put it, incredibility of a state government controlled electoral commission. So with this, at least, it's not as if this does not have its own disadvantage, but the advantages are far more greater than the disadvantages. So it is a welcome idea, it's a welcome bill, and we support the bill totally.
All right. Now, before now, Doctor, you would agree with me there have been concerns about the executive, having control over the outcome of local government elections in their various states.
Yes,
how do you think this particular bill, or when it becomes a law, will revolutionize that complaint that we have seen in the past?
Well, when it becomes a law, one of the first things it will do is to improve electoral credibility. Because at this point, it is out of the hands of the sitting government who control that particular state to decide how such election will be run. Example, I want to give an instance of our previous election, the last local government election that we experienced in Cross River State. There were a lot of changes that were done by the State House of Assembly that happened in between the period of the election that was expected to be conducted. And this type of things are because they are in charge of the Electoral Commission. So they decide and want to manipulate just to, how will I put it, to reduce the electoral influence of other political parties. So, but this particular bill will help us reduce such existence, because before any law will be changed or any policy will be created, it will be discussed amongst political parties. Ideas will be given. It will be a collective decision, as INEC has always been doing. Though it has its own advantage when it comes to the federal level of control, but at the state level, they will come to a serious discussion that will reduce this kind of thing. That's first. Secondly, it will reduce state interference. It will reduce state interference, where a state governor will sit down and decide how the commission, whosoever is the rec or whosoever is the head of the commission, will have to run. It does not stop the fact that the state government cannot penetrate. It doesn't, but it will reduce the effect of such penetration. Therefore, it will enhance democratic participation. It will also give faith to our citizens to come out and at least have faith. If you look, the turnout for last local government election was the poorest ever experienced in Cross River State. People refused to come out. Even the few people that came out complained of not even seeing electoral materials, up to the point of even some of the candidates were discouraged from coming out to participate because they have the mindset that the government will take it all, and which eventually happened at the end of the day. It is a bad scenario. But with this bill, it will definitely assist us to reduce such confidence to the citizens to at least come out and participate.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, when you started, you mentioned that the fact that this has a lot of benefit, it also has some sort of disadvantage or disadvantages.
Yes.
What would that be?
Well, one of the major disadvantages is the potentials for political manipulation at the federal level. One, note that the federal government will definitely look for avenues to be in charge of any state that becomes a threat to the federal government existence. At this point, the federal government will want to decide how the local government election is being run in that state and decide who and who. So at this point, those individuals or indigents of those states that are at the Federal Executive Council, who are, for example, the ministers, the senior board members, might be able to manipulate their individual states at the local level, thereby challenging the sitting government if they are not in tandem of the state. That's challenging the sitting governor if they are not in tandem of that state. So this particular potentials of manipulation is very much existent. It's open for that. This is one of the disadvantages. Then another disadvantage is bureaucratic layer. With this, we already have INEC to run the presidency and the presidential election, governorship election, national election, and all that. So how will this marry with INEC? Because at the end of the day, if you look critically, I feel that rather than creating this commission is to update the INEC, how will I put it, jurisdictions. that INEC will still handle the federal election and handle local government election, because at the end of the day, the same data are going to be produced for both elections, but in different terrains. So this kind of things will increase more critically, because you have to create this commission, you give somebody else this commission, there's going to be a lot of interference, and you know that at the end of the day, this particular commission will want to compete with the federal parastatal, which is INEC, because we want to do something far better, which will require more of our funding. Then the last one is implementation challenges. There's going to be a lot of implementation challenges. There are going to be a lot of implementation challenges, because as it comes, there's going to be political fights, interest fights, and all that, which will cause unrest in certain angles, because already at the National Assembly, there's a lot of unrest against this decision. So imagine when it now comes to bear, the state government will definitely want to fight that whosoever becomes a representative from a state is decided by himself. You know, all those kind of things. So these are some of the disadvantages that comes with this. But if you look at the disadvantage in comparison to the advantage, you see that the advantage is far more accepted by Nigerians.
Okay.
And most especially as me, a cross-riverian, I accept this far better than what is existing, because you cannot sit down and a governor will sit down and decide who becomes the head of the commission for local government election. Who decide at the end of the day, the head of the commission does nothing, because every decision is taken from the bedroom or the kitchen or the toilet of that governor.
All right, thank you so far, Dr. Ambo. Thank you for your takes on this matter so far. Nigerians, cross-riverians, this matter concerns us all. It has to do with the local government election, which is the closest to the ordinary Nigerian, or to the people at the grassroots level. Also do well to call in and share your thoughts on this. Do you think that this is going to change the face of local government elections and also the outcomes that we've seen in the conduct of the election so far? 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. We're also being joined by Dr. Macfarlane Ejah. Good morning to you, Dr. Ejah.
Good morning, Okamaka. Good morning, cross-riverians, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right. So the National Local Government Electoral Commission Bill is on the floor of the House. It has passed second reading. Dr. Ejah, what do you make of this? Do you see potentials?
I think we're trying to reinvent the wheel.
You think so?
Yes. This is not the first time that local government elections have been done in Nigeria. The only challenge we have now is that the new introduction, we're having the states having what we call the State Independent Electoral Commission. I think the word independent, even at the national and the state, is laughable, because truly they are not independent. They are the appendages of the executive. In 1999, when we started this phase of democratic processes, we had a beautiful election. The states and the local government all had elections, and the elections were conducted by one body, and that is the Independent National Electoral Commission. Then you could see the results of the election was like coats of many colors. In Cross River State, then in 1999, we had more of the opposition, as it was, ANPP then, more than PDP. And we also had the same kind of coloration across the 18 local government areas. The local government, in its sense, were truly independent, because the allocations were coming straight the way that of the states were coming. And you saw healthy competitions. The chairman had that authority. Rural-urban migration, was at the lowest ebb, because you could see activities at the rural area. Talking about conducting the election and creating what we call the Local Government Independent Electoral Commission, why it is like reinventing the wheel. We already have INEC that is there. What we need to do is to go back to the Constitution and see that part of the Constitution that expunged the provision of local government, INEC having the ability to conduct local government election and requiring states to create independent state electoral commissions for local government. Just expunge that part and expand the scope of INEC to include that. Presently, the House of Reps is currently has passed a bill to hold presidential, governorship, legislative, and all other elections at one time. And that bill has passed second reading. So, that bill also stipulates that local government elections should be part of that process. And if that is happening, it's simple. It makes common sense. Reduction of wastage of resources, that we just include this into INEC. Which register are you going to use to conduct? It's the same INEC register. Now, if you're creating independent electoral commissions for local government area, are you mandating them to also be the ones to be producing voters register? Because even the state independent electoral commissions are not using, they don't have registers. They get the registers from INEC to use. So I think it's just to include that local government election into INEC role.
Instead of creating another commission.
Yes. So for me, the idea of ensuring that the local government elections are taken away from the hands of the governors, it's a brilliant idea. But let's look at it. It's like you're taking a precious material from some other area that you think that material will be vulnerable to another area where also there is a degree of vulnerability. Because we are saying the state governors are the ones actually manipulating the state independent electoral commissions to give the results which is there. The same fear we have for them also is the same that we have at INEC, where the executive has displayed high-level, high-handedness in seeing the result. The 2023 last election is still fresh in our memory. So while we try to move all elections to one independent body to be responsible to conduct the election, which is INEC, can we also at the same time try to ensure that we have a formula and a mechanism that INEC is truly independent?
Okay.
That's the thing we need to say. And so as this thing is going on, we have both of them together. But the idea of fusing all elections into INEC body, it's fantastic.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ejah. Dr. Ambo, can you still hear me?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, so Dr. Ejah is of the opinion that instead of establishing another commission, a National Local Government Electoral Commission, why not infuse the responsibility of conducting local government election into the responsibility of INEC?
Yeah, basically, I said that in the beginning of my statement, that if you look at it, I feel that rather than creating that, they could go back to the law that made INEC. But at the same time, one of the advantage of a new creation is employment. You know, in our country, once a new commission is employed, it opens up for young people, experienced people to come in and get employed. So certain things, at most times, the disadvantages and advantages come together. But when we want to look at the political focus right now, it's far more better that all responsibility is given to INEC. Then the INEC policy that created INEC should be re-looked into, that the commission head, the chief electoral officer is not appointed by the president, that the chief electoral officer should be appointed through an independent body that will sit down, a conglomerate of independent, can look at least, the president can just send names of individuals for these bodies to look at them, look at their credibility, and now approve of one that will lead. But when the sole power, the executive power, belongs to the president, definitely he controls, there's no more independence in that commission, because I cannot give you power and not decide how you use it. So these are one of our problems, because if you look at certain systems where we adopted this system, the way the man in charge of such commission comes in does not come from the presidency. It comes from a group of independent individuals who are respected in their state, who are respected in the country. They come together, look at certain names. They'll give the executive certain preference that, okay, give us so numbers of names. Then we'll look at them. If the the social numbers of names that were presented are not up to standard, they reject all those names and go finding their own. At the end of the day, such a person, when it comes through such body, will be extra careful and will want to act on the independent nature of the commission. So these are one of the things we need to look into, which we need to cry to the National Assembly that yes, you have done Part A well, but in this Part A that you're doing, why don't you do Part A to have A1, A2, A3 because of these incidences? These are the angle, but I believe that we are progressing as the day goes by.
All right, 0812-723-7060 or 0809-230-0022. Join the conversation and make your contributions to this. What you make of this new bill that is on the floor of the House of Representatives, and it has passed for second reading. The intent is to establish an independent, as they have mentioned it or called it to be, a National Local Government Electoral Commission that will be saddled with the responsibility of organizing and conducting local government election. Will this ensure that the transparency, the credibility, and the overall outcome of local government elections moving forward is free, fair, as people would want it to be? So call in and join on the conversation, and also share your thoughts on WhatsApp if you can, or send a message to the SMS platform. Now, Dr. Ejah, this bill is on the floor. I'll take the message before I come to you, Dr. Ejah. This message is from Mr. Fyong, Calabar South. He says, "Good morning, Sparkling family. Before now, it was the INEC that conducts every election in Nigeria, from presidential to local government election. But unfortunately, due to inordinate ambition of governors to capture power by all means, created state election umpire to actualize this. It will be therefore pertinent if INEC shall take over again that new Electoral Reform Act before the National Assembly." Thank you very much, Mr. Ofyong, for this contribution, and I'm hoping that when it gets to the stage of the public reading, they might entertain this. 0812-723-7060 or 0809-230-0022. Dr. Ejah,
Yeah.
now let's say that this bill eventually, becomes or passed by the National Assembly and is assented to by the executive. Right? Is there any beauty that you see in this bill?
No, I don't think I see beauty. I see a situation where we are merely, trying to expand things for purposes of political, gratification with regards to appointments and positioning of people. Right now, the ministries, we are facing balkanization of the ministries across all divide states and federal level just because you want to reward people. When we begin to see appointments as rewards for political patronage, we begin to bastardize ministries. You're looking at a ministry like Ministry of Agriculture, it has been dismembered beyond what it can do. And when you dismember them and fragment them beyond an acceptable norm, it becomes difficult for the people to perform. When you create an independent body to conduct local government election, the difference you have done is just taking it away from the state and you are now making it central. Now, each, at central as it is, they are going to have offices at the state. They will now be answerable to a central authority. You're going to provide money. The same function they are doing is just a minute part of what an existing body is already doing. The idea that we need to return all elections to one independent body is brilliant. The idea that we need to conduct all these elections one day is brilliant. After all, that's how it was. All federal elections were all done simultaneously, and we just do that. So I don't see the idea to return the election to INEC is what is beautiful, but we don't need to create a body because it will amount to wastage of resources and all that unnecessary duplications. So let's just empower INEC, embolden it to conduct the elections up to local government like it used to do before. Now,
okay,
my friend,
please just hold that thought. Right, we need to go pay some bills, and when we return, we'll continue with this conversation. This is Let's Talk Nigeria on the Sparkling Morning Show. Please stay with us.
Nigeria's number one. Number one. Music, sports, and talk radio. Let it hit on.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Sparkling 92.3 FM.
This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power. On Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your charm.
Welcome back. Thank you so much. Let's Talk Nigeria continues on the Sparkling Morning Show. 0812-723-7060 or call 009-230-0022 and let's hear what you think about this move by the House of Representatives to establish a national local government electoral commission to take over the conduct of elections at the local government level. Let's take this call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed. Hello.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
I think it's a very good development for the bill that has passed in the second reading in the National Assembly. Even though we know the system is not good, but it's a good development for INEC to conduct the same election, the governors, state of assembly, chairman, and councillor. But the issue is that, seriously, INEC are not independent because they don't have to source for their money to organize election. It's the federal government that is sponsoring INEC. But what makes us to be happy if this thing is going to pass through is because the opposition, maybe like PDP level, we have so many councillors and chairmen. And by all means, most state that will say, I will not organize local government election until I want. Because from 2023, 27 to 2022, so many states will not organize local government election until the ending of the governor's tenure. He will organize election, and anytime he wants, he will tell the chairmen, I dissolve you, I bring interim chairmen. But for now, every state, we know if this thing pass through, every state will have a local government election, which will have executive chairman that will vote by the power of the people. This is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you for your contribution. Dr. Ejah, you were saying something before we went on the break.
Yeah, my colleague on phone had said, looked at the other side of it about employment. I think yes, it's good to do employment, but until we begin to look at a situation where we stimulate the microeconomy to enable the citizenry contribute positively, it will not help us. We don't just create ministries just because we want to employ people. Check what you want to do. Look at the young population, the energetic. Our curriculum should be looking at an out-of-the-box system where people come out and begin to become employers of labor. That's going to be much more better than creating, MDAs that will be having conflict within themselves. So that's the other part I needed to talk about it. Then, if whatever we're trying to do with elections is to make local government actually independent and give them a sense of belonging, it does not stop here. Let's go back to the constitution and begin to look at the constitution and ensure that provisions are actually made in the constitution that gives the local government as a third tier of government all the full powers as it is. I had said when the president, the federal government moved into the issue of local government financial autonomy and all that, you don't begin to select them, individually. It doesn't work that way. This is a conglomeration and they must all work together. And I've said clearly, I'll continue to repeat it until the clause of the constitution that provides for the joint allocation account is expunged from the constitution. The financial independence of local government is merely an oxymoron, because the Supreme Court ruling is not above the Constitution. It takes its bearing from the Constitution. And so any law that is at cross opposite with the constitution becomes superior. As long as you have the joint local government, state and local government accounts committee, the JAC, in operation, there is no way governors will not have some level of control on the finances. So let's expunge that part of the constitution and return it back to what it used to be in 1999, that local governments had their allocations directly.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ejah. Now we have a message here, Nemeka from Federal House, and he says, good morning. I would prefer that INEC handles local government election, but my concern about INEC remains. If the president remains the one appointing who chairs INEC, then how independent is INEC itself? Dr. Ambo, thank you for coming back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Now, we're still talking about the bill that is on the floor of the House of Representatives, looking at the merits and demerits that this bill might have, and the fact that you have also in your speech agreed with Dr. Ejah that INEC should take over the conduct of election, that this might amount to duplication of duties. But let's also look at other parts of this bill. It also said that this bill further seeks to amend Section 153 of the 1999 Constitution to empower the Commission to regulate the conduct of political parties and their candidate during local government elections. Do you have any say on this part?
Yes, basically, it's already what INEC have been doing. Now, if you look at the electoral law, the electoral law has to do with political party and its candidates, how the political party runs their congresses, what is needed from the political party as it has to do with yearly review of the existence of the political party and its structure. Now, those things are part of the policies, part of the guidelines that are included in how INEC operates with political parties. This particular angle is absent in CUSEC or in the state electoral commissions. So, at the end of the day, I think that what exists in INEC will be what will be duplicated in this commission, because they will definitely want to work with political parties, give the same guidelines, give the same rules and all that. So it is barely going to be a duplication of function. Or alternatively, if a new person comes with new idea who will definitely want to better that of the existing ideas, existing policies of INEC, might want to introduce far more better technological mechanisms to improve the local government election, where the federal government electoral body, which is INEC, will want to tow a copy from. So these things, there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to all, as we all can see. But in our own context, what they are proposing in the bill already exists. It is already existing. It's not new. The only thing that is new there is now going back to what was existing and making it more solidifying. That is just the existence. That's just what is happening at this point.
All right, thank you very much. 0812-723-7060 is the number for you to call this morning to be part of this conversation. Now, Dr. Ejah, another part of this is where they're also looking at making elections, all the elections, to be conducted in one day.
Yes.
What is the possibility and workability of this?
It's simple. It's workable and it's possible. Now, if you look at the elections we are doing now, the federal elections, what do? We have the House of the Senate and the House of Reps together. We do that. So I think for me, staggering the elections is wastage of resources, wastage of human energy and time for us. And then beginning to say that because there's an election, people things are held. Every Saturday you're beginning to stop people for every election. We need a situation where INEC education section begins to start its activities quite early, sensitize people, educate people on the colors of the various ballot papers. It's been done. We have the various elections separated by different colors of ballot boxes, because in this case, if there are 5 elections you're just going to have all the ballot papers given to you, and each of them are different. So what we expect to do is that as you thumbprint on a particular one, you put it inside the corresponding box with that color. So we need to do a lot of awareness, sensitization, and education on the different elections, the colors that represent their boxes, or whatever mechanisms for people to understand. That will not be left for INEC alone. The political parties have failed completely in activating their educational wing. They only sit back and wait during elections to offer themselves as platforms for people to ventilate their political aspiration. But by the provisions of the law that sets them, they're supposed to have an educational wing that educates the people. National Orientation Agency, for me, has merely existed as name because we've not seen them. We need to sit back. All we need to do, get a situation where we infuse this by every means, so that within 1 or 2 years before the election, every Nigerian, it's aware of it. Now, look at your phone that you buy. Nobody teaches you, they just do some adverts on how to load. You do start this and that, you load that, and after a while it sinks into your memory.
Yes.
So what we need to do is to do a lot of use electronic media platform, social media platform, and come out with an acceptable and workable modality. And when people have this and imbibe it, repetition enhances understanding, and before you know it, everybody knows it. So when you're going in for the election, you're doing all the things and you vote immediately. The second thing we need to do is the idea of the IREF, which was created, was a beautiful thing. People could see the result in almost real time as it was being uploaded. Not until we had the voice of Esau and the hand of Jacob coming into it and beginning to give us stupid languages we don't understand, you call glitches, that have not been able to be portrayed. So we look at it, let credibility, let's get INEC truly independent. Let's have a body separate from the executive, bringing them. Let the president not even file a nominee. All we need to do is that the body that selects the INEC leadership and brings them up, the president does the ceremonial swearing in, and let there be a provision that after 30 days, if he doesn't swear them in, they automatically become, functional. So these are the things we need to look at.
Okay.
And then for us to have the beauty, no matter what we do, the principles of separation of power is not actually working in our country, because the 3 tiers of government are equal and independent on their own. But we see that the executive has been able to do a kind of democratic coup and has swallowed the other 2 arms. The legislation is at the pocket of the executive, the judiciary, they need a rescue.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ejah. 0812-723-7060. Or you can call 009-230-0022 for your contributions. Back to you, Dr. Ambo. Now, still talking about the single day for the conduct of all the elections in Nigeria. And this is INEC doing it in consultation with the National Assembly. What do you think?
Well, basically, we are going back to what how it used to be. It's a very nice idea. It reduces stress. One, it narrows the focus. Critically, if you look at the past elections, where presidential and National Assembly goes one day, governorship and House of Assembly goes, this thing used to bring, how will I put it, power difference, where you see that because the first election is that of the president needs to bow to the sitting governor and make sure that, because the structure in the state, believing that the structure in the state will always believe or hear the order of the sitting governors and bow to whatsoever decision, whatsoever appeal that is on the table of if it's for a return and all that. The same applicable to the governor and the House of Assembly. But when this election is on a one day, everybody is on his own. At that point, there's no intimidation. There's no, if you favor me today, I'll favor you tomorrow. You only face what will help you succeed at the point. Then, 2, this political party underwhelming will absolutely be reduced, because when the presidential election and National Assembly is done, and the president eventually wins from a political party, everybody now start to think that the governorship election and House of Assembly will automatically go to that same party, because the president and majority of the House of National Assembly are from that party. you get this kind of thinking that comes around citizens in the country. So, but when the election is one day, that angle is eradicated, is expunged from the mindset of people. People will go out to vote their mind. They will go out to vote for the individuals they think, the personality that they favor, not because of the party. Because sometimes you can have the right personality in a wrong political party. Sometimes you can have the wrong personality in the right political party. This kind of thing happen a lot in election period. But when this election all comes one day, you will see that because of an individual, a lot of persons can come out openly for an individual. Then you will see that there will be a big reduce in the numbers of outcome of individuals for that election, because everybody will be coming out to take a decision, one day decision, not because this party I never liked win the presidential. There's no need of me coming out for the governorship and House of Assembly. There's no, this is the Nigerian concept of thinking. So, but with this one election one day, definitely that concept of thinking will be reduced to the barest minimal. So it is a very nice idea. The only thing where I have challenges with this is that it only, in politics, financial independence is very, very important when it comes to political parties. And majority of the opposition political parties don't have such enablement to keep date with this kind of exercise, because there is no funding for them. Unlike before, where there is a fund that has been given from the federal government to political parties to support existence of political parties. Whether you win or not, but as far as you are a registered political party under the auspices of the INEC, there is a particular fund that keeps you running, keeps you running the activities that keeps you alive for the next election. So these are one of the indices that need to be addressed as we go forward.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ambo. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. Dr. Ejah, he said something about he picked a hole in this conducting the election in single day.
I don't see a hole. Now, the truth is this. I don't think political parties need money from government. The benefit of it is that everybody you're there, you're going into the contest the same day. So what happens is the electorate who are going to decide. Because when you're talking about the campaigns, there is no special day for a special political party to do campaigns. All of them do their campaigns within the same time frame. You find a situation where one comes into a particular community as it's leaving, probably another one is coming in. So it's about strategy and finding a way of engaging the people. Because the elections in one day, during the election period, it's not about the political party. It's about the electorate making a decision based on what the various candidates have presented to, the electorate. It's a day of reckoning for the electorate to make a choice from amongst the candidates. So for me, I don't think there is an issue there. It will cut down on resources because you're going to deploy people. The deployment will be one day. You're not going to be deploying people 5 times or 10 times as the case may be. You're deploying all one day. And so we'll concentrate. It will cut down on the budgetary provisions for INEC, the way it is. Now, what I'm looking at is it will be suicidal for us and our democracy for us to get into the next election without addressing, the challenges of the last election. And the millennial voters all came out to come and register when INEC made us believe that election results will come out real time. The Nigerian Bar Association conducted its election and they used electronic voting. Everybody across the whole globe participated in the process of voting and it came out very clear. Nothing. So electronic voting is possible in Nigeria. Let's begin to do it. The people who are working against electronic voting are people who are not in tandem with their constituency and have not been able to do things. So you find a situation where somebody comes in, you go into the National Assembly and you're coming to empower your people, you're coming to give tire. You're coming to empower your people, you're coming to give a tuber of yam as a member of the House of Assembly or a local government.
But people are collecting it, Dr. Ejah. Isn't that where the problem is?
It's not about the people. The people have been made gullible. Do you understand? So you come and bring it. And you bring out the people don't even come in. Say some are gathering because they want to come. So what do you take the people for? So we need a system that allows credible people come out and the will of the people becomes actually that. Do this election all in one day. Everybody knows that the battle line is drawn. Do your campaign and the electorate have ability to do it. The second thing is that the result of the election, which is what my colleague had earlier said here, the bandwagon effect will not follow. Everybody is on his own. So you come up. If you stagger these elections, one will be looking at the tendency to conduct the election of the federal first is there, and then people will now begin to say, okay, for us to key into and suck it into the federal, let's begin to do the result. No, because there's a difference. What we have not been able to clearly separate in Nigeria amongst the electorate and the elected is that there's a period for campaign, and that's where we talk about political parties. And after election, we are talking about governance. The person who even opposed you, contested with you and lost, if his ideas are brilliant, bring them on board and fuse them, because that you won the election, you cannot claim that you have everything. After all, you didn't win the election 100%. If there are 100 people who voted and then you had 60 or you had 51 and the other person had 49 people believe in the other person, you won by simple majority of one vote. So it doesn't invalidate the position and the people who believed in the other person. We don't have a situation where we are fusing ideas together. Once elections are over, people keep leaving you as permanent enemy, and that's because we have people who think that their only source of income, livelihood, is politics. Politics should be a vocation. So we need to look at that. I don't see a problem with that. It's something that has been done somewhere along the line. Largely the elections, were shared into two, the federal and the state elections. And federal was conducted in one day, states were conducted in one day. It is possible to fuse all these elections together, and we have it. It's doable, and we need to start working now. The problem with Nigeria is that we procrastinate a lot until the last moment, because let's start that process right away.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ejah. Dr. Ambo, before we let you go, what final words would you want to drop?
Well, I will say that I'm very grateful that at least processes of this nature are on the way, and at least it's giving us belief that somehow, someday, Nigeria will get better. But in the area of, I want to correct the area of my colleague saying that political party does not need money. Now, if you look critically, that's why everybody goes to the winning party, the ruling party, is because of the financial implication of how the economic runs. Now, you want to do a campaign, the political party, because when you are doing campaign, it is not the candidate that is campaigning, it's the political party, because the people are voting for the party. At that time, the candidate name does not. That's why you see there's this glamour for independent candidacy. But at that time, you are voting the political party. So every expenses that runs through the political party. The locomotive aspect of expense, movement from one place to another, trying to convince people with your idea. Those ideas need to be visible and concrete. And these things has to do with funding. So if some political party have the right candidate that cannot, as in does not have the financial ability to send this message across, definitely such a candidate will die. So that's the difference between the ruling political parties and the other opposition political parties when it comes to financing. So in the old, when we have government supporting establishment of political party, you can see that the likes of the NNPP, the likes of the NRC were able to withstand the political environment of that time. But right now, you see it that a lot of political parties cannot even have access to an office, because they now structure themselves to be SPV, that special people's vehicle. They only wait when a candidate that has money comes, it changes the narrative of the party, which is not supposed to be so. Okay. So in that angle, we need to go back to the drawing board. And if we want to have only two political parties, then let all mechanisms be put in place to reduce political parties in total. If we know that we cannot, then let all the mechanisms be there to sponsor or sustain political parties to make them sell their ideology or scope of operation.
Okay, Dr. Ejah, you want to add something?
Yes, clearly, when I say political parties don't need money, I don't mean they don't need money for their elections. They don't need money from government. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. Okay. I'm happy he talked about NRC and SDP. Before NRC and SDP were the MPN, UPN, and other political party, PRP era. Political parties are independent organizations that have come to throw their hearts into the ring and say that this is our ideology. if your electors will be able to do that, it will be wrong for the government of the day to begin to fund any of the political party. It's a platform. It's not done. When the NRC and the SDP arrangement was the militocracy thing we had during Babangida, when he made himself military president, and then we looked at it and was funding it. So when the government of the day begins to fund, you do not fund a system. Nobody makes a king that fights him. Nobody empowers a king that fights him. So the government of the day, when we say the government funding political parties, you have a democratic system. The president belongs to a particular political party. Even if he gives shares money equally to all the political parties, of course, you can find something which is not. So clearly, it's an oxymoron if the political parties are being funded by the federal government. Now, if you feel you have issues to come out, there was a candidate, I think a copper, a young girl who won this Kwara State. It wasn't about money. It was about impact with the community, how you interface with the community. It's only during elections people begin to get up and remember that they have villages. We are talking about people who are in tandem and connected with the people, because those who come from outside, the money bags who bring money into the political parties, we see them during campaigns. At the end of the elections, they don't pick calls. Several of them here, those who came even to where we are staying here, you send them as a community messages, they don't pick, and wait, it will be time of election, they'll come and tell you it is network. Holy Ghost will forgive them when they begin to look at that. So at this point, let's begin to look at political parties are supposed to be independent, are supposed to be self-funding. Political parties are supposed to get involved in lucrative businesses to generate income. That's how political parties are created everywhere. Right now, the money bags have taken the political parties and backed them. Check the membership list of political parties. What is the source of income? Members are supposed to pay dues at a particular point. So we're not activating that. And people are just coming up. So that's what we need to do. It will be completely an error, an oxymoron for the government to think of funding political parties.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ejah. And thank you, Dr. Ambo. Thank you for your time. I think this is where we'll draw the curtain on this conversation. And to you, thank you for making your contribution to these salient issues that we've raised. We'll do this again tomorrow. Ukamaka Richard Basi is my name. Have yourself a great day. God bless.